This guy woke up at 5 a.m. to run 10 kilometers. At noon, he struck with his sword 500 times. At 5 p.m., he hit the gym, pushing more than 20 reps each set. And to fully repeat Saitama's routine, he even quit his job. People thought he had gone insane. But then a system appeared in front of him, telling him that the gate to the end of the world was about to open. And now only 5 seconds remained. But 15 days earlier, everyone's phones had started ringing. Critical disaster alerts announced the appearance of monsters throughout the city. During a live stream, a young man warns that a monster has actually appeared. He then decides that since he's come this far, he should get a little closer. But comments on his screen start warning him that something is behind him. The young man thinks they're just messing with him until the creature appears right over his shoulder. The young man's stream was abruptly cut off. As he walks down the street, he comments that the video surprised him by how realistic it looked. Lee Hoyoung wonders what's happening in the world as he kept receiving disaster alert messages. He finds it hard to believe in monsters when it's already so difficult to get by day to day. After all, there are a lot of fake videos circulating lately. Then he looks up from his phone. Right in front of him, a chained creature is lying on the ground. He wonders why there's a monster right there. Keeping his distance, he comments that the situation is scary, remembering that the math teacher is arriving today. The small creature looks up. Hoyoung wonders if it's asking for help, but still finds it all too frightening. He reminds himself that he's a human and that thing is a monster. He tells himself he can't afford to feel compassion for a creature like that. Even with that look in its eyes, he can't help. The creature then cries while holding a photograph of its family. Lee Hoyoung's expression changes completely. A system interface opens over the item, identifying it as the Silver Goblin's Pill, which grants an unknown ability when consumed. He ends up helping a monster, and even receiving a gift in return. Hoyoung then wonders what this Silver Goblin's Pill is, questioning if the screen in front of him is a hologram. As he wonders who would eat something so suspicious, a breaking news report interrupts the TV program. The anchor announces that large, unknown buildings have appeared all over the world. These buildings look like towers, and the American Army unit that entered one of them has lost contact. With the appearance of monsters and towers, the apocalypse had truly begun. Standing by the window, he looks at the pill in his hand. Suddenly, an explosion goes off outside. Hoyoung turns around, surprised by what happened. In the streets, people are running amidst chaos and destruction. A man tries to make a phone call in the middle of the confusion. The city is now nothing but a pile of rubble and overturned cars. And in the middle of all the ruin, an immense tower rises. From the top of the structure, you can see the entire devastated city. Urgent news confirms that a huge tower has also appeared in Korea, and he watches it from his balcony. He's not sure if it's the right decision, but he stares at the Silver Goblin's Pill. Then he decides this is the only time he'll be able to do something so crazy. He finally swallows the pill. A change happens inside him. A status window materializes before him, informing him that he has obtained a guide to survive. A book then materializes in his hands. He wonders what this book is. The book opens completely before his eyes. Pages begin to float out of the object. The guide informs him that the door to the end of days is opening and recommends some quests. He followed the recommendation and gave up everything else for 15 days to focus only on his exercises. But his time was up. The door to the end finally opens before him, and he wonders if this is the end. He comments that this is a bit different from what he imagined as a sword materializes in front of him. A system window informs him that the tutorial is starting and his class has been set to combat swordsmen. The system instructs him to open the status window, but he is faced with too much information to read. His status window displays his attributes as a level 1 combat swordsman. Holding the weapon, he wonders if this means things are really starting. To complete the tutorial, he must either survive in the forest for 60 minutes or find an exit to escape. Then he remembers the sage's status window. The guide advises him to use the full 60 minutes to defeat as many monsters as possible, as the second option would hinder his growth. He realizes the sage's status window made him train because it knew the situation would occur. Based on what the guide said, he decides to face the monsters instead of fleeing the forest. And with the start of the tutorial, he readies himself for action. A small raccoon with a horn appears in front of him. He wonders if that's a monster, finding the creature cuter than he expected. But the one-horned raccoon reveals its true form. The creature then leaps to attack him. He attacks the creature with his basic swordsmanship. After defeating the one-horned raccoon and gaining experience, he concludes the monster was weak because it was part of the tutorial. He realizes that with only 10 mana points, he can only use his skill 5 times. This means he needs to save as much mana as possible while fighting the monsters. So he uses his basic swordsmanship against another advancing creature. The monster is hit squarely by the blow. After gaining more experience, he levels up to 2 and recovers his health and mana points. But a new system notification appears. The screen informs him that he will gain points to increase his attributes with each level. Then the system adjusts his level back to 1, explaining that because he has the sage's status window, he will level up more slowly. He can't believe what he's seeing. The young man wonders when he'll be able to level up, since the penalty made him regress. He finds this a ridiculous obstacle and decides to open his status window. but something catches his eye. Even though he's level 1, he realizes he still has 2 attribute points to distribute. The young man wonders why he still has the attribute points, but as he analyzes the situation, he realizes this might not be a penalty. Then he understands that he may have discovered a much more powerful ability than he ever imagined. Another monster charges forward to attack. He then defeats it with a single slash of his sword. The system levels him up and then resets him back to 1, just as he expected. Even after returning to level 1, his remaining attribute points continue to increase. He realizes it's easier to raise his stats this way than by leveling up normally. With 4 points to distribute, he analyzes his 4 attribute options. Strength and agility would be the best choices for a combat swordsman. Strength would allow for more powerful attacks, while agility would increase his speed and reflexes. But he decides that the attribute he needs most right now is something else. His sensitivity increases by 4 points, and he immediately senses movement in the forest. Another one-horned raccoon is defeated. He notes that the tutorial monsters aren't that strong, being easy to defeat even with his basic stats. The guide reminds him to use all the tutorial time to hunt as many monsters as possible. The problem now is finding enough raccoons within the time limit. With his higher sensitivity stat, it has become much easier to find them, as if he can feel their presence. A secret mission is activated after he defeats all the monsters in the area. A much larger and more imposing one-horned raccoon appears before him. The system informs him that he must defeat the level 2 alpha one-horned raccoon. Then the creature leaps toward him to attack. He dives to the ground to dodge the impact of the charge. The young man stumbles and falls while trying to get up quickly. He barely manages to turn in time, noting the monster's speed. The creature drives its horn into a tree, and he wonders if that's the boss. He collects himself and faces the alpha raccoon, realizing it's different from the others. The monster curls into a ball and charges toward him again, but Hoyoung prepares to counterattack. With a precise strike of his sword, he intercepts the attack and manages to defeat it. After defeating the boss and completing the mission, he notes that he's actually level 7. A notification informs him that the tutorial is complete, and he remarks on how long that hour felt. But as he turns around, he realizes something else is happening. He wonders if the tutorial is really over. Suddenly, he finds himself in a different place, surrounded by a crowd of people. A strange object floats in the center of the large hall. A message welcomes everyone, informing them that they have successfully completed the tutorial. It is then explained that they are in the tower's lobby in region C2557. Hoyoung looks up, questioning what this lobby is. He counts the people around him, wondering if they were all sent here after the tutorial too. It makes sense that everyone is panicking, since the entire world changed in just one day. If he didn't know the world was ending, he would probably be panicking just like them. He calms himself and resolves to get out of this place alive. A woman asks where they are, and a voice replies that this is the Tower of the End. She turns in surprise toward the source of the voice. A small rabbit in a suit appears in the middle of the group. The creature introduces itself as Kumkum, the level 55 manager of the tower's lower floors. People question if he's a child in a costume and if he was the one who brought them here. Kumkum considers that a normal response, but Hoyoung interrupts him to ask a question. He asks what they should do now, if this is really the end of the world. The rabbit points at the young man and says that's an excellent question. He then addresses the 22 players present in the hall. His expression changes completely. Kumkum announces that they will all participate in a game, risking their own lives, leaving the others shocked. Hoyoung watches the scene. The creature explains that all humans on Earth are in the tower and must work together to climb the floors. The young man then asks if they can return to their normal lives if they reach the top, but Kumkum replies that he doesn't know the answer either. Hoyoung questions the point of climbing the tower, and the rabbit grabs him, asking if there needs to be a point. He states that only a harsh fate awaits those who do not climb, and he adds that many people did not survive the tutorial. One of the men realizes that, even though it was just a tutorial, many must not have made it through. He then has a sudden realization about the people who didn't survive the tutorial. The rabbit then prepares to make a proposal. With his arms wide open, Kumkum asks if anyone is willing to eliminate him. He explains that he needs to be defeated to go home, and that there's a special reward for whoever helps. But he's level 55, and Hoyoung knows there's no way to beat him. He decides to just watch for now until a new notification from the guide appears. The instruction is clear: help manager Kumkum return home. This makes him wonder if he should really attack the rabbit. So far, the guide has always been right, but he hesitates to do something so conspicuous. He's unsure what to do. Suddenly, another man steps forward and accepts the task. The volunteer says he'll eliminate him since he wants it so badly, and Hoyoung realizes he's too late. The man then warns Kumkum not to regret it because he won't show any mercy. He rushes forward and attacks the small creature with his weapon, but Kumkum's eye merely reflects the approaching blow. The rabbit comments that the attack is very scary. He's thrown backward by the force of the blow. The result of the strike surprises the people closest to them. The woman watches the scene in a panic. With his body transformed, Kumkum claims he counterattacked by accident. Everyone around is completely shocked by what happened. The attacker's body now lies motionless on the floor. People start to scream that the man was defeated. Lee Hoyoung wonders what would have happened if he had volunteered. Kum Kum returns to his original form and tells everyone it was just a mistake. The guide once again instructs him to help Kum Kum get home, and the creature holds out his hand and asks if there are any other volunteers, making Hoyoung question if the guide lied. The rabbit asks who wants to help Kum Kum get ahead. Then Hoyoung steps forward from the crowd. He wonders why the guide lied to him, but the sage's status window activates in his eye. The interface reveals a second skill, the Sage's Eye, which allows him to see other people's status windows. The screen details the function of the new skill. He's surprised by the existence of another skill and wonders why it suddenly appeared. His vision then reveals something that was previously hidden in the creature. With a smile, Hoyoung finally understands the situation. He extends his hand toward the rabbit and says that Kum Kum wants to go home. He volunteers for the task, stating that the guide wasn't lying. Kum Kum observes him and comments on him being only level 1. Hoyoung asks if his level matters when doing a good deed, and the creature agrees that it doesn't. He gets into position as the rabbit asks to be sent home quickly. A woman tries to stop him, warning that it's too dangerous and that he just saw someone get defeated. The people around him tell him not to do anything reckless, but Hoyoung replies that it's okay, as he has a plan. He tells her she's about to see something exciting and grips the hilt of his sword. The rabbit opens its arms, ready for whatever comes. Then Hoyoung rushes forward and attacks the creature with a punch. He remembers there was something strange about what Kum Kum said. He was sure there were 25 people in the room, but the rabbit said 24. That wasn't a simple mistake. The horror and fear were intentional. The reason Kum Kum said the wrong number becomes clear as he attacks. The other people in the room react with fear to what they see. He then readies his sword, knowing the real reason behind the lie. The rabbit stares at him, not understanding what's happening. Then he strikes with his sword. Because there were only 24 people there to begin with, the figure of the man who was defeated was just a human hologram created by Kum Kum. Kum Kum congratulates him, and its status window reveals it's a hologram that disappears upon taking damage. The description states that this is not its true form and that it disappears when hit. To those who have courage, it wishes that luck will always be on their side. Then the creature completely dissolves. Hoyoung lets out a sigh. A small sphere falls to the ground. Everyone gathers around the item, which grants 1 attribute point. A man picks up the object and questions if it was all just a sham. The people turn to Lee Hoyoung and ask how he knew. He explains that by coincidence he saw the scene's visual effect pass through Che Yeziel, which is why it all seems staged. A man approaches and says it's a huge waste that he got it. Kim Seong, level 4, claims he just got lucky and would have acted if he had noticed. The man explains that the fact Hoyoung is still level 1 means he's either weak or just ran away. He then says Hoyoung won't last long and for the sake of humanity gives him the chance to hand over the item. But the attribute point is transferred to Kim Seong's hand, who claims that giving in is not one of his hobbies. Kim Seong calls him greedy and asks if he's trying to save face because of his level. He concludes that the wisest thing to do is to avoid people like him, but wonders how long he can keep that up. A system notification announces that everyone's starting gold will be distributed. Gold can be used in the shop, and additional gold will be given based on hunted monsters, prompting Seong to say he got lucky. It's revealed that the highest amount of starting gold in the area is 7,400, surprising the other players. Kim Seong complains he would have done better if he'd known, while another player notes that whoever got first place must be incredible. But the player who took first place and received 7,400 gold is Lee Hoyoung, who decides not to reveal it to anyone. With the shop now open, it's explained that gold can be used to buy items, level up skills, or improve attributes. He then decides to raise all his attributes to 20. Kim Seong complains about how expensive it is to level up his skills, while Hoyoung also decides to improve his swordsmanship, and a change happens in his body. He decides he can't keep wearing his gym uniform and spends some gold to change his clothes. Che Yeziel approaches and calls out Lee Hoyoung's name. She asks for advice, but he questions why she would ask a level 1 player for help. She replies that his level aside, she was very impressed by his bravery. To hide his advantage, he asks how much gold she has, and she honestly replies that she has 800. He deduces that her stamina is low, as she says her main concern is simply being able to walk. So he advises her to invest in that stat to use items longer, and she thanks him for the tip. A system notification announces that the first floor's mission will begin shortly. Everyone is given 30 minutes to form their own 3-person parties, or they will be grouped randomly. Hoyoung realizes the party mission has arrived sooner than he expected. Following Kim Junsong's suggestion, the players begin to reveal their classes to form teams. Che Yeziel invites him to form a party, and he accepts, as he has no reason to refuse a healer. But everyone else he invites refuses, saying they need to think about it before joining his party. Yeziel asks what they should do since a level 1 combat swordsman isn't very appealing to others. The level 4 players, on the other hand, have already formed their parties without any trouble. Time runs out and the incomplete teams are randomly filled with the remaining players. As the first floor mission begins, one of the players already laments his bad luck. Kim Seong complains about having to party up with someone he despises, and Hoyoung realizes the situation has come to this. He meets Seong's scornful gaze and wonders if it will be possible to cooperate with him. He concludes that the issue isn't whether it's possible, but that he has to make it possible. Then he looks up at the sky. After all, he'll do whatever it takes to survive here. Their mission is to neutralize the kobold tribe within 12 hours, and they're observing the camp from above. Kim Seong warns them not to get in his way, but Hoyoung reminds him that this is a team mission. Furious, he calls him a loser and asks why he has so much to say when he's just being carried. Hoyoung sighs and agrees to see just how good it is to be carried, deciding to listen to him for now. As they walk, Seong keeps taunting him, and he simply thanks him for the concern. Che Yiziel wonders if their group will really be okay. Seong complains about the number of insects in the forest, and Yiziel hopes they can complete the mission without any trouble. Then, they are surrounded by large, monstrous insects. Hoyoung simply comments that there are a lot of insects because they're in the mountains, but something between the trees catches his attention. Yiziel then calls out his name. She asks if the kobold monster is supposed to be strong, and he replies that it should be manageable, though stronger than the raccoon. He reminds her that they need to stay alert. After all, this is the Tower of the End. Hoyoung suddenly stops. A level 5 kobold appears before them, looking much stronger than expected. Che Yiziel asks what they should do since the monster is obviously stronger, and he suggests they check the surroundings first. But Kim Seong charges forward without hesitation. He says it's because Hoyoung keeps hiding like a coward. Then he leaps toward the monster to attack it alone. The kobold turns, surprised by the sudden charge. Seong yells that it's because he's still level 1 and attacks the creature with a punch. Hidden, the other two watch the scene. A confident smile appears on Kim Seong's face, but the monster catches his fist and he remarks on how well the creature is taking it. The two exchange a series of blows. Hoyoung didn't expect him to be so stubborn, rushing in like that. Yiziel then leaves her hiding spot and decides to help in the battle, while he is relieved to not sense any other kobolds nearby. As she heals him, Seong's health stays high during the fight. He realizes that with her help, he might be able to defeat the monster alone. But Hoyoung notices the damage dealt is low and wonders if the monster has a weakness, just as the guide appears. The guide informs them that kobolds are passive monsters that won't attack unless provoked. Hoyoung realizes that Kim Seong attacked it for no reason at all, but he tries to be positive since they needed to capture a few for research anyway. Then he discovers new information in the guide. Meanwhile, Seong activates his stone fist skill. He rushes forward and throws a powerful punch at the creature. But the kobold blocks the blow with no difficulty at all. The creature turns to face him. Then its level increases to 6, and it bares its fangs. The monster raises its club as another one appears on the battlefield. Seong finds himself in trouble and questions why Lee Hoyoung isn't helping him. A flash of light appears in the forest, and he wonders if that loser ran away. The monster then raises its club to attack him. Yiziel warns Kim Seong of the imminent danger. She is then thrown to the ground by the impact of the attack. She gets up quickly. Then she draws her weapon. The monster charges forward to attack, but something is thrown in its direction. The object is struck by Hoyoung's sword. His basic swordsmanship activates and he hits the creature squarely. The monster recoils from the impact of the blow. Then it begins to disintegrate. The creature falls apart. With the kobold eliminated, the system congratulates him on the victory. Kim Seong calls him a loser, but Che Yiziel calls his name. He then smiles. He had noticed that while the insects ate all the other fruits, they didn't touch those ones. So he summons the poison apple from his inventory, understanding what was happening. The guide explains that kobolds are vulnerable to poison, and it advises him to collect a poison from the mountains to use. He then realizes the poison apple is the key to the first level mission. As he helps Che Yiziel up, she thanks him and Kim Seong recovers on the ground. Hoyoung comments that the situation would have been dangerous if he'd been any later, and Seong asks where he had gone. Then he turns and calls him a loser. He accuses him of hiding when things got dangerous and then showing up to steal the final blow. Hoyoung just stares at him, not understanding what he's complaining about. Seong walks away, saying he should be a better person because of his level, making the young man wonder if he's a lunatic. He realizes that because his companion can't read the room, he's going to have an even tougher time. The group finally arrives at the entrance to the kobold village. Kim Seong declares himself a national name in the punching scene. Then he charges at the monsters, and he claims they will never. With a shout, he says they will never stop him. He dives into the horde of kobolds and begins his attack. While Cha Yiziel and Lee Hoyoung eliminate the kobolds, Kim Seong screams amid the struggle. He wonders how they can do it so easily. One of the monsters then attacks him from behind. He's thrown hard to the ground. The The creature steps on his back and he screams that it hurts so much. The monster presses him further into the ground. Then he begs for someone to help him. Suddenly, he realizes the attacks have stopped. The kobolds around him begin to disintegrate, and they dissolve into a cloud of smoke. He lifts his gaze from the ground. Li Huiyang is standing right in front of him. He then takes his place for a while and asks how the ride was. Kim Seong stares up at him from the ground, speechless. Then he starts to cry. He calls him his big bro, and a system notification announces that the mission has been completed. The group returns to the lobby through a portal. Kim Seong questions what he has just done. Then he bows before Li Huiyang and swears to serve him, despite being a level 2 rookie. Che Yizil congratulates Huiyang on leveling up, while Kim Seong fumes at having to serve someone else. But he decides that, as a man, he can't go back on his word. Kim Seong squirms beside his companions, and Che Yizil asks if he needs to use the restroom. Li Huiyang notes that they must be the first to arrive since they found the kobold's weakness. Che Yizil disagrees, saying it was thanks to his observation skills, as she never would have thought of using poison. He replies that without their support, it would have been much harder, feeling like a fraud. Then, other groups begin to emerge from portals around the hall. Li Huiyang notices the arrival of Kim Junsong and Seo Juno's team, and Che Yizil congratulates them. He assumes they must have also found the poison apples and wonders if the other groups will make it back. A man announces the arrival of another group, who emerge from a portal carrying a wounded companion. The man collapses to the floor as soon as he steps through, stating that he made it back. Che Yizil approaches the fallen young man and asks about the third person in their group. The fallen man explains that only the 2 of them managed to return. A system notification announces that the first level mission has been completed by all. The survivor on the floor reacts to the announcement. Che Yizil shouts for them to wait as people are still missing, while the system reports that 8 players have not returned. Li Huiyang reacts to the news. He expected it to be difficult, but not with 8 participants eliminated so soon, and he wonders how many more will be lost before they reach the top. The system then begins calculating the rewards for the surviving groups. The team that finished in first place will receive 1,000 gold per member. Li Huiyang checks that he received 2,000 gold as a bonus, considering the money insurance for his survival. He decides he needs to save as much as he can. Then, someone among the other groups asks which team came in first. Li Huiyang concludes he'll have to reveal the truth, as the second group already knows. He raises his hand and announces it was them. Kim Seong interrupts him, declaring it was an obvious outcome and that there's no reason for sadness. A young man in a blue hoodie asks if their group was the first to arrive. Kim Seong questions his reaction, asking if he's mad that they came in first. Li Huiyang notes that his companion seems to have forgotten how he was defeated, but at least it diverts the attention from him. The other players start to comment that he's only level 2 and got 2,000 gold for doing nothing. They continue, saying he was carried and ask if he doesn't feel bad about it. He then realizes the attention wasn't diverted after all. Che Yizil starts to defend him, saying that Huiyang was actually the one who helped them. But he stops her, stating that it's okay because they won't listen. Li Huiyang then tells her that he'll have to show them what he's capable of. Suddenly, Kim Junsong claps his hands to get everyone's attention. As one of the highest level players, he asks everyone to calm down and focus on survival. Seo Juno agrees, saying they must carry on for the sake of those who didn't return. The other players are fired up by the speech, agreeing they need to pull themselves together. They all shout together as a sign of motivation. The flame on the central pyre burns more intensely, but the flame suddenly explodes into a new shape. Then, the torches on the walls also change. A warning appears in the air and someone asks what's happening to the flame. The system announces that a penalty mission will be initiated due to the low survival rate. Next, the screen reveals that an elimination mission will begin shortly. The rules instruct everyone to choose a candidate, and the one with the most votes will undertake the mission. A 5-minute timer appears in the center of the hall. The system adds that not voting for anyone will result in an automatic vote for yourself. As time ticks by, everyone looks at each other. Being voted for here means elimination. As the timer counts down, a man yells for everyone to wait. Che Yizil suggests that if everyone votes for themselves, no one will have to do the mission. But another survivor questions what would happen if everyone had to go, saying this is no time for arguments. With time running out, people begin to panic. A woman looks to the side, expressing her confusion. Then she points to Li Huiyang. His name appears on a screen with 1 vote from Seo Juno. Che Yizil calls out his name. Seo Juno questions if this isn't too cruel, as the voting isn't anonymous. He then apologizes, stating they have to choose someone anyway. Li Huiyang says he was expecting this, but he's still a bit surprised. Seo Juno admits that after all, he doesn't want to be eliminated. Che Yizil proposes a plan to save everyone, but Li Huiyang states that it won't work. One of the men agrees that there's no way to know if her plan would actually work. Li Huiyang explains that the trust between them has already been broken. As time runs out, the votes against him increase 1 by 1 on the screen. He concludes the main reason for the votes is the fact that he's the lowest level player. Che Yizil calls them cruel, but a man retorts that he'll be eliminated if he doesn't vote for someone. A woman comments comments to Kim Junseong that he'd be eliminated anyway at that level. In the final second, Kim Seong apologizes with a smile to his boss. Kim Seong's name appears on the screen and the system announces that all votes have been tallied. A portal for the elimination mission opens in the center of the hall. Lee Hoyoung stares at the portal, surrounded by the others, and wonders if this is real. Che Yeziel shouts his name, her hand over her mouth. Kim Seong laughs, saying that with his departure, his problem will be solved and that he's a genius. The candidate has been chosen, and the challenge is set. Leaving the other players behind, he walks toward the portal. He has no choice but to follow the path of the challenge. But at the end of the path, there is no elimination. A system guide window recommends his participation, stating he has a high chance of success. And, in the end, a reward awaits him. Back in the lobby, the remaining players wait in silence. Che Yeziel asks Kim Seong, who is sitting beside her, if he's okay. Kim Junseong approaches, lamenting that they as comrades have to part ways like this. Kim Seong confronts him, saying everyone gets what they deserve. Junseong asks what he means by that. He then claims that Hoyoung's level says it all and that he was just trying to leech off him while he carried the group. Che Yeziel questions him, asking if it wasn't Hoyoung's skills that helped them clear the mission. He retorts that it was just luck and that Hoyoung only landed the final blow after he had already weakened the enemy. She then asks if he's sure Hoyoung didn't save him from a dangerous situation. Kim Seong recalls the battle and questions his true abilities, wondering if he'll make it back alive. Kim Junseong intervenes, saying he hopes Lee Hoyoung is as good as Che Yeziel believes. That way, he'd at least have a small chance of returning. She remembers Hoyoung saying he would let them see with their own eyes. Che Yeziel wipes away a tear. Then, she stands up and declares that she believes in him and is sure he will return safely. Kim Junseong smiles and agrees that he's sure of it too. Lee Hoyoung arrives at a desolate camp, with crows flying over grim totems on stakes. He walks among torn tents, recognizing the place as the kobold's lair and finding the atmosphere unsettling. The young man then checks the system guide window again. The message reminds him that even though he considered voting for himself, everything seems to be going in his favor. He clenches his fist, remembering the vote's outcome was already decided. Suddenly, a hunting party from the kobold tribe returns and stares at him. The creatures surround him, their eyes fixed on him. He simply notes that the enemies have arrived. Then, a larger kobold emerges from behind the group, and the death mission officially begins. The objective is to defeat the chief and the hunting party, a level 12 boss monster enraged by the defeat of its comrades. The guide informs him that, like the others, the kobold chief is weak to poison. He then crushes a poison apple in his hand. Lee Hoyoung applies the poison to his blade, aware that he's facing a nearly impossible opponent. One of the kobolds lunges forward with a spear to attack him, but he deftly dodges the blow. He dodges and counters, striking the kobold's spear with his sword. His blade locks firmly against the enemy's wooden weapon. Then, he pushes forward and defeats all the surrounding kobolds, stating that with him, things will be different. After dealing with the smaller monsters, he looks at the only one left. His gaze fixes on the final enemy. He then prepares to see what the boss monster of a death mission is like. The chief advances with a powerful strike, but Lee Hoyoung blocks it with his sword. The two blades clash forcefully in the middle of the camp. He realizes the monster minimized the damage by retreating at the moment of impact. The chief takes a stance, revealing an unexpected skill for a monster in this mission. Suddenly, the creature leaps backward, leaving him confused. The monster then turns and simply starts running away from him. While fleeing, the chief seems to feel discomfort and stumbles. Lee Hoyoung catches up and lands several blows, wondering if this was some kind of bonus stage. With the enemy finally defeated, he simply concludes that the situation was good for him. But as he delivers the final blow, his sword is blocked by something. He wonders what happened, not understanding why. The kobold chief gets up and lets out a howl to the sky. Lee Hoyoung watches the creature before him. In the sky, a red moon appears amidst the clouds. Then the monster's eye begins to glow, and in a swift motion, the creature hits him with a devastating blow. Back in the lobby, Kim Seong states there's nothing to be done for someone who's already defeated. He then offers to carry the group for the rest of the floors. Che Yeziel continues to pray for her companion's safety. Kim Seong questions her, asking why she's praying for someone who's already gone. She stands up and confronts him, telling him to have some decency. Then she asks what he would do if Hoyoung returns safely. He continues to mock her, asking if he said something wrong as a portal opens up. Che Yeziel notices the portal forming and stares at it. A figure emerges from the portal on the floor, surprising everyone in the hall. Kim Junseong and Seo Junho smile upon seeing who has returned. A mark on Lee Hoyoung's face begins to fade. The damage to his chest also regenerates. The system announces that the player from the death mission has returned alive. With a smile, he announces that he's back and Che Yeziel screams his name. A notification from the guide then explains that the kobold chief's abilities are enhanced by its red eyes. In the past, the monster's eye glowed brightly. He reacts as he notices the creature's red eyes while being hit. Lee Hoyoung takes a few steps back from the impact. Then he presses on the point of impact on his chest, trying to recover. Under the moon, the kobold chief charges for the final attack. The creature continues its advance, and he needs to land a single blow to win. He faces the rapidly approaching monster, but a crystal barrier suddenly appears and blocks the chief's attack. The kobold chief shatters the barrier with a punch, and the impact sends Li Huiyang flying backward. He looks back and sees that the punch went through a tree as if it were nothing. Then, a new idea comes to his mind. A sword might not be able to cut through a wall, but a nail can pierce it. He realizes he's been stuck on the idea that a sword is only for cutting. With new determination, he decides to test his theory. He prepares to use the momentum of the monster's charge against it. Li Huiyang positions his sword for a piercing strike, adding the weight of his own body. The chief leaps toward him, shattering the ground with the force of its push-off. The creature descends from the sky with its blades ready to strike. He faces it, ready for the final confrontation. All his strength is concentrated on a single point at the tip of his sword. The focused energy hits the monster's chest with precision. Li Huiyang holds his firm stance after the decisive blow. He realizes his plan worked. The system then announces that the death mission has been completed and a new skill has been added. Back in the lobby, someone walks toward him. Li Huiyang looks at the approaching person. Che Yiziel runs toward him with open arms, saying she knew he would come back. But Kim Seong gets in front and intercepts her. The impact knocks them both down, and Kim Junseong is well in the process. Lying on the floor, she looks around, confused by the situation. Li Huiyang is now being hugged by Kim Seong. He declares that he always had faith in his big bro's return. Li Huiyang stands frozen, caught in Kim Seong's tight embrace. Kim Seong shouts that he trusted him from the very beginning. He laughs, saying a death mission couldn't stop his big bro, the strongest in the universe. Then a man approaches and calls out Li Huiyang's name. He asks if Huiyang really completed the death mission. The man continues, saying that if he finished the mission, he must have gained a lot of experience. But he points out that Li Huiyang's level hasn't changed. The people around them start to wonder if he's still level 2. The situation reminds him of how he thought he'd gotten used to this, and how the world wants the weak to stay weak. His classmates used to accuse him of cheating for getting the best grades. They couldn't accept that an orphan with no resources could excel. Back in the present, everyone speculates that he must have hidden somewhere. He clenches his fist, realizing that prejudiced people don't change easily. But he knows what he needs to do now. Che Yiziel steps forward and orders them not to speak so recklessly. She asks why they keep doubting him when he's already proven he survived the death mission. Then she takes Li Huiyang's hand and declares that they don't know anything. Kim Seong watches the interaction beside them. He yells that she's right and complains that instead of celebrating Huiyang's return, they dared to ruin the mood. Kim Seong turns to the group and asks if they've lost their minds. He and Che Yiziel position themselves in front of Li Huiyang. Despite everything, he feels a little safer, but he decides he needs to show them something convincing so they can all survive in the tower. Li Huiyang then gets everyone's attention and says he needs to show them something. He raises a sword, revealing it to be the rare rank Indomitable Sword. The people around are stunned by the item and its attack power boost. Kim Junseong approaches, remarking that he's extraordinary for keeping the poison apple, but Huiyang replies it was just luck. Junseong explains that a reward item like that is more valuable for survival than a little experience. Li Huiyang just repeats the words, your survival. He says it seems like they've all forgotten something. Then he reminds them of the fact that they nearly put him in a dangerous situation. With a swing of his sword, he knocks down the group in front of him. Che Yiziel and Kim Seong watch the scene in silence. Seo Junho grits his teeth at the situation. He turns to Li Huiyang and agrees that he's right. Seo Junho admits he justified his actions as unavoidable, but it was pure selfishness. Other group members admit that voting for him was the same as attacking him. He then bows deeply and apologizes for throwing him into a dangerous situation so they could live, and adds that he's truly happy he came back safe. Li Huiyang remains standing while Seo Junho stays bowed. But a woman questions the need for so much drama since he came back with a rare item. Seo Junho glares at her, incredulous at what she said. He yells at the woman, asking if she feels no guilt, but someone else reminds him that he was the first one to vote. Someone grabs his arm as he tries to justify himself. Li Huiyang explains that the reason he brought it up wasn't to scold them, but to prevent it from happening again. He states that the tower is trying to divide them, and that it sows distrust among everyone. The tower also causes conflict between them, and maybe probably enjoys sending them to their ruin. The people around listen to his words. Then he declares that his return is an opportunity. As he's proven, they can defy the tower's intentions. Kim Junseong asks about his plans, and Huiyang replies that he'll find ways for everyone to survive as they climb. He continues, saying they will climb higher and higher, and that one day when they reach the end. He looks up. Then he asks if they won't be able to get their lives back. The group of people agrees that one day they might. Che Yiziel declares that for that to happen, everyone there needs to join hands. She turns to Li Huiyang, but he doesn't answer. Seo Juno comments on Li Huiyang's generosity, admitting they shouldn't have judged him by his level. The creature Kum Kum appears in the middle of the group, and Li Huiyang says that's a shame. Kum Kum points at them and announces that the next mission will be a survival game. The group reacts with surprise at its presence, questioning why it's there again. Li Huiyang starts to ask what it means by a survival mission. Kum Kum confirms that the level 2 mission will be among the 16 players in that location. Its expression transforms. It then declares that it will be a battle royale, leaving everyone shocked. But it tells them to cheer up, as it will only be a light sample since it's a low level. Kum Kum begins to explain the first rule, stating there will be 16 players and 16 doppelgangers for a total of 32 people. The second rule to complete the mission is to defeat all the doppelgangers, and it warns them it won't be easy, as the doppelgangers will have the same stats and memories. Kum Kum then reveals the third and most important rule. It explains that there is no reward for a player who defeats a doppelganger, but a player who defeats another player will receive stat points and gold. Kum Kum says that, in other words, the mission could be an opportunity for them. Someone in the crowd yells that this is basically in order for them to fight each other. Kum Kum then reveals that for every 30 minutes without an elimination, it explains that everyone will be immediately summoned to the lobby and face a disaster. A giant hand begins to emerge from the floor in the center of the room. The creature has an unknown level. A huge, shadowy monster materializes before everyone. Che Yaisiol and Seo Juno scream for Li Huiyang to get out of the way. He stares at the monster and wonders if they're really supposed to fight that thing. The monster strikes the ground, causing a huge explosion. The force of the impact shatters the room's floor. Everyone is thrown back by the shockwave. Li Huiyang manages to hold on to Che Yaisiol and Seo Juno. He glares at the creature and calls it a literal disaster. A man on the ground despairs, questioning how they could possibly fight it. A woman cries for help, screaming that she doesn't want to be defeated. Li Huiyang realizes that panic has taken over everyone. The monster lunges forward with a punch, aiming for one of the players. The player is engulfed in an energy and screams, but Li Huiyang saves him at the last second, deflecting the attack. He says the second floor mission hasn't even started yet and questions what the creature is doing. Kum Kum rolls on the floor, amused by the scene. Li Huiyang then wonders if this is just an act to make them take the mission seriously. He concludes it's just a taste of what's to come, and the monster doesn't actually intend to hurt them. The monster attacks again, sending several players flying through the air. They fall uncontrollably amidst the rubble. Kim Junsong fires an arrow at the creature, and Kim Seong hurls a piece of rock right after, but the attacks do no damage, and Junseong expresses his frustration. Li Huiyang realizes it's not just a demonstration and wonders if the monster is actually trying to eliminate them. Che Yaziel warns that she's out of mana, and he notes that while no one has been eliminated yet, it won't be long. The creature raises its fist to strike once more. Li Huiyang yells for everyone to get back. He draws his sword, determined to stop it so no one gets eliminated. With the synergy between the indomitable sword and the piercing ability, he believes it might just work. He braces for the impact of the descending fist, and believes his attack might have some effect. Then he charges forward and uses the pierce ability. The blow creates a vortex of energy that crashes into the monster. Everyone watches this scene, completely shocked by the power of the attack. Li Huiyang himself is stunned, not understanding the situation. No one can believe what just happened. Then the crowd erupts in celebration. They start chanting Li Huiyang's name, who wonders if his attack was really that strong. He realizes that was unlike anything he's ever experienced as a system window appears. The window informs him that he will enter a state of exhaustion for 3 minutes for using strength beyond his limits. He realizes he's in trouble. His vision darkens as his companions call out to him, but another window appears announcing his exhaustion state has been suspended. Lying on the ground, surrounded by his friends, he says he's truly moved. Seo Juno praises his humility and strength, saying that even his fainting ceremony was perfect. Che Yaziel helps him sit up, and he asks what happened to the disaster. Kum Kum appears and explains that the monster was sent back as it was just a sample, but the creature complains that it wasn't very exciting since everyone is being too friendly with each other. Kum Kum starts to explain that an elimination must occur every 30 minutes, and that means the people standing next to them could be the ones to eliminate them. Everyone reacts to the terrible declaration. He then says his goodbyes, stating that the message has been delivered and he's leaving, and vanishes completely. The group stands in silence in the middle of the hall. Li Huiyang grinds his teeth at the tower's intentions. He wonders if there's really nothing they can do. The hall remains quiet. Someone says out loud that if they don't find the doppelgangers, they'll have to eliminate each other. Another person suggests marking them, but the idea is dismissed, as the doppelgangers share the same memories. Li Huiyang gets everyone's attention. He then says he has something in mind. The group asks him what he has in mind. Li Huiyang begins to explain that during this mission, he alone will do what needs to be done. The declaration leaves everyone completely shocked and confused. He instructs everyone to gather at the highest point on the second floor and to consider anyone who isn't him a doppelganger. A former soldier named An Sichang questions if that's really his plan. A woman then asks why they should obediently follow the plan of someone with a low level. Lee Hoyoung asks her if she remembers what Kum Kum said. He reminds them that the tower encourages them to confront each other for rewards, and explains that while the instructions are to fight the doppelgangers, the real goal is confrontation between the players. He then states that he no longer wants to be manipulated by the tower and that this is the best solution. The woman still seems to doubt how that could be the best plan, but Kim Junsong raises his hand and agrees with the idea, saying it would reduce the damage. He then looks at Lee Hoyoung and asks if this means he has a way to tell who is a doppelganger. Lee Hoyoung confirms with a smile that of course he does. The second floor mission begins with a warning that one person must be eliminated in 30 minutes. As he walks, Kim Seong complains about the plan, finding it reckless and hating that he has to climb mountains. He looks to the side. Then he stops as he senses someone approaching. A voice calls his name, putting him on alert. Lee Hoyoung appears and asks if he, being so big, thought he wouldn't be seen behind the tree. Kim Seong replies, relieved, saying it was just his big bro. Hoyoung's double reveals himself by saying he thought Seong was a doppelganger, but the real Lee Hoyoung eliminates the imposter with a swing of his sword. He then looks back over his shoulder. Lee Hoyoung states that he alone will carry out the eliminations. Then a screen appears, announcing that the second floor mission has begun and they must eliminate one person in 30 minutes. He notes the count, 16 players versus 16 doppelgangers. Opening the guide window, he smiles upon seeing he got the reward for being the first to reach a certain level of sensitivity. That notification appeared at the exact moment he needed it. He then quickly invests his points into the sensitivity attribute. A new message congratulates him for being the first to reach level 50, granting him the flawless senses ability. The description explains that his 5 senses will be extremely enhanced, allowing him to obtain detailed information from people nearby. Lee Hoyoung opens his hand, feeling as if an enhanced sensory filter has been applied to the world. Suddenly, he turns upon hearing a distant murmur. His eyes widen as he recognizes that voice. His perception expands, reaching a great distance around him. He focuses his hearing on Kim Seong, who is walking alone through the forest. Kim Seong complains out loud, saying he can't believe Hoyoung sent them up the mountain to do nothing. With a smile, Lee Hoyoung remarks that Seong seems to have a lot to complain about. Suddenly, a dark smoke wafts toward his face. He covers his mouth and questions the source of the foul smell. Then, a strange figure of Kim Seong appears in his perception. Lee Hoyoung realizes that figure is a doppelganger. Elsewhere, Kim Junsong stands before a fallen figure as the system announces the elimination of a doppelganger. He says the imposter acted just like the real one until the moment it was eliminated. Now, with his ability confirmed, Lee Hoyoung hopes the others will follow his instructions. He remembers how everyone seemed to agree with the plan thanks to Junsong's support. His hope is that nothing happens until they reach high ground. But a system message announces that a player has been eliminated, bringing the count down to 15. He can't believe a player has already been taken down. Lee Hoyoung wonders if it was the doppelgangers, another player, or even Seong who caused trouble. With no way of knowing what happened at that moment, he prepares to act. He starts running quickly through the forest to find the one responsible. Far away, someone cuts a tree in half with 2 strikes. While one doppelganger was being eliminated, another player was also taken out, and now Lee Hoyoung wonders where the culprit is. His eyes focus as he uses his ability. His vision expands, and he locates someone standing beside a fallen figure in the forest. The figure he spots is a doppelganger standing over the victim. Lee Hoyoung says he's found him and prepares to attack. He then leaps from the tree and charges at the doppelganger. The target is identified as Go Yongwoo, level 5. With a single strike, Lee Hoyoung eliminates Go Yongwoo's doppelganger. He looks at the figures on the ground and states that he eliminated the imposter before it could cause more havoc. Then he turns to the other victim, Lee Byung-chul, and wishes him rest. But as he kneels, he realizes something here is strange. Lee Hoyoung notices that Go Yongwoo's weapon is a long, bladeless sword. He then observes that the wound on Lee Byung-chul's body was not caused by a sword. Lee Hoyoung uses his perception again to search the distance. His vision focuses on Kim Junsong holding a bow, revealing the wound was caused by an arrow. Lee Hoyoung hides behind a tree, wondering if there's another culprit. In the distance, a silhouette asks him who's there, and he wonders if it's a player. Kim Junsong looks at an arrow in his shoulder and wonders if his doppelganger shot it. He keeps his bow aimed at Lee Hoyoung, who approaches and asks if he's okay. Lee Hoyoung then tells him to stop right where he is. Junsong explains that since he doesn't know who the doppelganger is, he asks him to keep a safe distance. Next to the fallen figure, Hoyoung reveals he just eliminated a doppelganger and asks if that isn't enough proof of his identity. Kim Junsong stares at him in silence for a moment. He finally lowers his bow and admits that it really is Hoyoung. But before he can finish warning him about his doppelganger, he's struck by an arrow. Lee Hoyoung rushes toward him as his body falls from the tree branch. Sometime later, he carries the injured man through the forest. Lee Hoyoung presses on, carrying his companion. He apologizes, saying that if he hadn't let the other one escape, no one would have been eliminated. Kim Junsong replies that the idea of someone else with his face hurting others is terrifying. Lee Hoyoung states that it's not his fault, as they are all victims of the tower and need to focus on getting out alive. He suddenly turns his head. Seo Junho and Chae Yiziel run toward them, calling out for Hoyoung. Relieved, Yiziel says she was worried because she heard 2 players had already been eliminated. She approaches Junsong and offers to heal his wound. But Lee Hoyoung orders her to stand back, revealing with his sword in hand that they are doppelgangers. Seo Junho asks if he's serious. Then their features transform, revealing they are imposters. Junho's double moves forward, saying he's very disappointed in Hoyoung. He clashes his sword with Hoyoung's and asks if he still holds a grudge from the elimination mission. Junsong aims his bow at Yiziel's double and says he'll take care of her. The double's confidence as she approaches catches Lee Hoyoung's attention. He knows that with Yiziel's memories, she should know his true strength. Then the double attacks him, and he blocks the blow, questioning the situation. The second double's attack makes him realize the truth about Junsong's doppelganger. Lee Hoyoung dodges the double's attack with a backflip. He rushes forward as Junsong's doppelganger falls in the background, defeated. Then, an arrow grazes his face. The projectile smashes into a stone wall. The arrow embeds itself in the rock, very close to where he was standing. A cut marks his cheek. He turns and comments, "What a shame." Kim Junsong then reveals he thought he had him in checkmate. Slightly injured, Lee Hoyoung turns around. Kim Junsong then reveals himself next to the doppelgangers, stating he thought it was checkmate. In a swift move, Lee Hoyoung had eliminated Go Yongwoo's doppelganger. The system then announced the defeat of another imposter, bringing the countdown to 13. A smile forms on Kim Junsong's face. He peeks from behind a tree and says bingo, revealing he's a former Wanyang fisherman. His technique is depicted like fishing, and his hobby is revealed to be human fishing. He apologizes for speaking in dialect, saying he got a little excited. Then he asks Lee Hoyoung what kind of emotions he's feeling right now. He questions if it might be betrayal, futility, or perhaps rage. Junsong's face contorts as he screams the last word. He then lets out a laugh. Lee Hoyoung smiles and says he was wondering when he would show his true colors, finding him more intense than he imagined. Kim Junsong questions him for speaking as if he already knew he would be betrayed. Lee Hoyoung remembers carrying the injured Kim Junsong just moments before. He then reveals that he can see other people's status windows and that Junsong's stats have increased greatly. Kim Junsong remains silent beside the 2 doppelgangers. He comments that Hoyoung gets more interesting over time, but Hoyoung tells him to cut the chatter. Then Lee Hoyoung questions his motives, asking if he wanted gold and stats that badly. He continues, asking if it was to the point of eliminating other people. Kim Junsong simply asks if he needs a reason. He explains that in this world, when he eliminates people, not only is he not penalized, but he's also rewarded. A single leaf falls as he smiles. He fires an arrow, shouting, "How could I not eliminate them?" Lee Hoyoung reflects that he had wondered if there was a situation forcing him to do this. He faces the arrow flying straight towards him, but he was wrong and he manages to dodge the attack. Hoyoung realizes he simply wore a mask and held back for a moment like this. Lee Hoyoung comes to the conclusion that this guy is just a cruel and dangerous opponent. He watches the trio of opponents advancing toward him. Seo Junho's doppelganger leaps and attacks with his sword. Lee Hoyoung dodges with a quick sideways movement. He uses the impact of his sword on the ground to propel himself away. In the air, he deflects a volley of arrows, recognizing the same old trick. But a second arrow appears, catching him by surprise. He manages to dodge at the last second. With a circular motion of his sword, he stops the projectile. Lee Hoyoung lands on the ground, composing himself after the attack. He understands that his opponent hasn't shown all his cards yet. From a crouched position, he watches his enemy's next moves. The area's best close-quarters combatant is supported by the best healer. An ranged attacker, stronger than both of them, readies his bow. Lee Hoyoung realizes this is a combination with no openings. Lee Hoyoung comments that he doesn't know how he convinced the doppelgangers, but admits he seems well prepared. Kim Junsong replies that for a big catch, he needed all this, and that Hoyoung is tougher than he expected. He then says that this way is better, because he can take his time watching Hoyoung struggle until he's defeated. Lee Hoyoung stares at him seriously. Kim Junsong readies his bow. He yells at his companions, asking what they're doing. Then he fires, saying it's time to pull up the nets. Lee Hoyoung's face remains focused. His flawless senses skill activates. He realizes this is definitely an exceptionally well-balanced team. The attacks come from all directions with no chance of escape. His analysis reveals the stats of Chae Yiziel's doppelganger level 7, and also those of Seo Junho's doppelganger level 8. But the arrows and swords close in to strike him dead on. The screen reveals Lee Hoyoung's stats level 2 with senses at level 50. Then, the arrows are simply stopped. He lunges forward and attacks Seo Junho's doppelganger, who is already hit by projectiles. Facing this overwhelming force, Chae Yiziel's doppelganger prepares to act next. The doppelganger then readies a support skill. Her hand glows as she prepares to aid her companion. Before she can act, Li Huiyang neutralizes her with his sword. He finishes his attack, proving that a good team composition means nothing. Two system messages announce the doppelganger's defeat as Kim Junsong watches from a distance. Kim Junsong starts to laugh nervously at the situation. His face then shows his apprehension. He falls to his knees. Li Huiyang stares at him, showing no reaction. Kim Junsong then begs Huiyang to spare his life. On the ground, he admits he became obsessed with the rewards and lost control for a moment. Kim Junsong bows and says he grew impatient seeing how good Huiyang was, crossing a line he shouldn't have. He then begs for forgiveness just this once. While repeating his plea, he prepares to lunge. Then he attacks with an arrow, yelling for Huiyang to just go down. Li Huiyang stops him with a single swing of his sword. He then stands still, his arm wounded. Defeated, Kim Junsong can only lament the outcome. He realizes his target wasn't just some ordinary opponent, but a much bigger catch than he ever expected. The system announces a player has been defeated as Li Huiyang watches the fallen figure on the ground. Sword still in hand, he reflects on having to stop an opponent. A system message then informs him that with the previous challenger's defeat, he's earned a chance to become the Star Vanquisher. An energy starts to surround him as he wonders what's happening. The notification explains that if he accepts, he'll get a stat bonus and the doppelganger's support. And if he ultimately becomes the Star Vanquisher, he'll receive a tremendous benefit. A dark silhouette materializes above him. He brings a hand to his head, reacting to the influx of energy. The energy condenses into a single point. A hand forms from that concentration of power. A female figure emerges, and the system asks if he would like to accept the challenge. Li Huiyang stares at the system's proposal. He finally understands that the reason Junsong could command the doppelgangers was because of that challenge. Setting that aside, he is faced with a list of benefits, including legendary rank equipment and skills. He swallows hard as he considers the offer. He reflects that, although he didn't like the idea of defeating doppelgangers, he managed to do it because he knew they weren't human. But he knows he'll face more situations where he'll have to fight humans, and one of them could be the next Star Vanquisher challenger. As the message with the challenge's benefits appears again, he considers the proposal. Still, the female figure stares at him, waiting for an answer. He then touches the screen and refuses the offer. Li Huiyang states that he won't become unhinged like Kim Junsong. In front of him, he sees Kim Seong, Chai Yiziel, and Seo Juno cheerfully calling out to him. His eyes widen for a moment. Kim Seong questions him with an exaggerated expression about why he took so long. Li Huiyang then wonders if maybe he should become unhinged. He turns to the gathered group and thanks them for following his difficult proposal. One of the survivors asks what they'll do now and if he can really tell the doppelgangers apart. He confirms that yes, he's sure about his ability. Li Huiyang begins by thanking everyone for following his instructions. And then he takes a step forward. Li Huiyang realizes something has appeared. Then, his doppelganger appears with a smile on his face. The other players are confused, unsure which of the two Huiyangs to trust. He faces the group and his look-alike in front of him. The two face each other, identical in appearance. The group stands silent amidst the standoff. Li Huiyang admits the situation has become complicated as he wanted to defeat his look-alike before getting there, but his plan was ruined by the unexpected variable that was Kim Junsong. The two Huiyangs face off with the other players standing behind them. He understands this has become a chess match between him and his look-alike. One of the survivors demands he explain the situation and asks if he defeated the doppelgangers as he'd said. The survivor then asks who the defeated doppelgangers are. Huiyang's look-alike remains silent for a moment. Li Huiyang begins to explain that there are 8 people in total who had either their player or their doppelganger defeated. He then states that if he reveals the 5 doppelgangers he defeated, they'll naturally know the identities of the remaining imposters. He understands that if he proves this fact, he can prove he is a player, but the two start speaking at the same time. They then present conflicting lists with the names of the defeated doppelgangers. The other players react with shock and uncertainty at the situation. Li Huiyang realizes it has all come down to this. The look-alike then asks everyone to think carefully. He reminds them that Seong and Yiziel were in his group and questions the probability of him having defeated their specific doppelgangers first. With a smile, the imposter asks what the chances of that happening are. The real Huiyang realizes his look-alike has made the first move. The players debate among themselves, questioning if it isn't too obvious a trick, but they admit there are no guarantees. Kim Seong, Chai Yiziel, and Seo Juno also seem confused by the situation. The doppelganger points to the Junsong in the group and says that if the other Huiyang is right, then he defeated the real Junsong by himself. They remember how Kim Junsong was the highest level leader who always gave them courage. One of the female players refuses to believe someone like him could be defeated. She then turns and asks if they can trust someone who defeated a person. The players back away, murmuring among themselves amidst the confusion. The look-alike smiles, stating he doesn't know how the real Junsong was defeated, but the advantage is on his side. He then prepares for his final move. The real Huiyang accuses him of giving himself away by being impatient to get people on his side. The look-alike just says he's going to seal the deal. He points at the real Hoyoung and calls him a doppelganger. Lee Hoyoung stares at him with a serious expression. One of the female players steps forward and yells that there's nothing left to say, ordering them to attack the fake. But Kim Seong stops her, saying not to jump to conclusions, and the others agree they need to be cautious. She retorts that there's no time as a huge disaster will appear in a few minutes. Lee Hoyoung admits his doppelganger's move was the best one possible in the current situation. He then starts walking toward his look-alike. Lee Hoyoung gets closer and says he's right, confessing to having defeated Junsong. The look-alike calls him disappointing and asks if he's given up. But Hoyoung reveals there's something that not even his doppelganger knows. Lee Hoyoung grips the hilt of his weapon and begins to explain why. Then, an energy erupts from his hand. He turns with a surprised look on his face. He then screams that Junsong is a traitor. The revelation is the fact that Junsong defeated other players. Kim Junsong drops to his knees after being hit, as two players shout his name. With his sword in hand, Lee Hoyoung asks him what he thinks he's doing now that he has nothing left to say. He then stops the confrontation and asks them to wait a minute. Seo Junho and the other players are still trying to understand what it means for Junsong to be a traitor. He then deduces that if his thinking is correct, the one who attacked Junsong was the real Hoyoung. Seo Junho explains that by gathering everyone in one place, Hoyoung had already created an advantage for the players, because when a doppelganger eliminates someone, an alert reveals their identity to everyone. But if Hoyoung could tell who the doppelganger was, he could prove he was the real one, just by eliminating the copy. Seo Junho is confused as Hoyoung is claiming that Junsong is a traitor. Lee Hoyoung turns to the archer and asks if he has neutralized other people before. He answers his own question, revealing that Junsong was wearing the mask of a good person while waiting for his chance. Outraged, one of the female players tells him to stop and asks how he dares. She remembers when she was saved by Junseong and doesn't accept Hoyoung insulting him. The woman then yells that she won't forgive him and prepares to attack. Suddenly, something stops her mid-motion. She looks back confused and sees that she's been hit by an arrow. Kim Junsong stares at her from the ground, still holding the bow after firing. A system notification announces that a player has been eliminated, shocking everyone with the new member count. Lee Hoyoung reacts with irritation, surprised that Junseong still had the strength to move. With his head down, the archer starts to laugh and claims that this was exactly it. He raises his face in a loud laugh and shouts that this was the kind of expression he wanted to see. Then, another notification announces that a doppelganger has been eliminated, updating the member count again. An Sikang approaches and apologizes to Hoyoung for doubting him. The former soldier then asks what they need to do now. Hoyoung watches him approach. The other players finally understand that a doppelganger was eliminated and that this is the real Hoyoung. But a group of doppelgangers draws their swords, preparing for battle. The players turn to Lee Hoyoung and ask him what to do, promising to follow his orders. He gets a sense of déjà vu, finding himself in the leader position again. His eyes open with determination. Lee Hoyoung prepares to announce his final plan to the group. One of the doppelgangers charges forward, yelling that since things have come to this, it's all or nothing. The doppelganger strikes one of the players with his sword, but Hoyoung yells no, because they will take all the gold the doppelgangers have. He then declares they will use the gold to increase their stats and charges into battle. The players face their doppelgangers, receiving stat boosts with every blow. Lee Hoyoung states that the doppelgangers are no longer a match for them, and he finishes by saying that they have all become stronger than they were yesterday. The scene shows that the doppelgangers' stats were the same as the players when they first entered the second floor. Because they had increased their stats with gold, they managed to complete the mission without any more casualties. But gathered after the battle, the mood among the survivors is heavy. Hoyoung reflects that if it weren't for Junsong, they could have survived without anyone being eliminated. An Sikang laments, likely the most disappointed since he was in the same group as the traitor. Lee Hoyoung admits his own disappointment, as his goal was to clear the floor with 0 casualties. He then imagines the situation in the other regions must be worse, with no guide and with others following a path of conflict. He concludes that the fights from now on will likely become more intense, and he believes there must be a good reason for his ability to read the guide even though he's weak. With a clenched fist, he decides he'll do his best to save as many people as possible as long as there are those who trust him. Then, a hand reaches out to him. An Sikang thanks Hoyoung for their survival, but Hoyoung credits the victory to everyone who followed his plan. Si-Chang deduces that since Hoyoung is still level 2, he must have a special ability in exchange for his slow progression. Lee Hoyoung recognizes that Si-Chang's caution and decisiveness will be a great help in the future. The former soldier bows in a sincere apology for doubting him, and the other players follow suit. But Hoyoung gestures, saying they don't need to apologize. Kim Seong boasts about having recognized his potential, but Chai Yizil claims she was the first to realize how extraordinary he was. An Sikang straightens up and says he knows it might seem shameless after everything. Then he asks Hoyoung to lead them from now on. Lee Hoyoung stares at him for a moment and accepts the request with a smile. A scene from 5 minutes earlier shows that after the battle, one doppelganger still remained, leaving the players confused. As one player asks where the last one is, Lee Hoyoung quietly moves away from the group. He stops alone in the middle of the forest near some bushes. Then he attacks the bushes and a notification announces that a doppelganger has been eliminated and the mission is complete. The system announces that gold rewards will be calculated according to each person's contribution. The players are surprised and happy to see they're also receiving gold. Kim Seong starts laughing confidently. He then celebrates loudly, declaring himself the man who was rewarded with 2,000 gold. Lee Hoyoung watches him in silence, showing no reaction. He's pleased that everyone got gold by following his plan. But a notification for 12,500 gold surprises him. His eye widens at the unexpected amount. The system informs him that because he obtained over 10,000 gold, his shop has leveled up. He looks over the interface and decides what he needs to buy right now. After buying a skill enhancement, his basic swordsmanship rises to level 3. He considers it a cheap price to be able to use the level of swordsmanship he had before. With that, he finishes his shopping. Che Yezil is surprised to receive a notification that Hoyoung has shared gold with her. She questions him about it, but he just tells her she can keep the money. He remembers Che Yezil helping the wounded during the fight against the kobolds. He also recalls the difficult battle they fought against the doppelgangers. Lee Hoyoung then states that it would have been much harder to win without her help. He explains that in a place that forces them to fight to survive, the reason they can laugh and trust each other is her. The fact that they can still help one another in this world, it's all thanks to her. Che Yizil clenches her fist firmly. She turns to Hoyoung to tell him something. With a smile, the healer declares that she'll get stronger, and her skill levels up. Next, Hoyoung shares gold with Kim Seong, telling him to stop being weird and keep up the good work. Lee Hoyoung stares at him in silence for a moment. Kim Seong calls him Big Bro. With a dramatic pose, he promises that Hoyoung's wish is his command from now on. Lee Hoyoung then grips the hilt of his sword. He prepares himself as the time has come to test his level 3 swordsmanship. A system notification announces the start of the 3rd floor mission. The mission is a siege and the players observe a castle in the distance. The system informs them that here, they will meet players from other regions for the first time. The condition for victory is to attack the castle and occupy the altar within 24 hours. Then, each player receives a limited time item called a return crystal. Lee Hoyoung observes the crystal in his hand. While the others wonder if they'll have to fight other people, he analyzes the item. He then calls for Kim Seong, who responds promptly. Hoyoung reminds him of his promise to do anything he asked. Seong's expression changes completely at the memory. Moments later, he is seen scaling a steep cliff. He continues to climb with difficulty. As he climbs, he complains that Hoyoung is being dramatic and could have just talked to him. He grumbles that he could have been told he wouldn't actually be eliminated if defeated here. A guide window explains that on this floor, the return crystal will bring him back to the start if he is defeated. Kim Seong reaches the castle gate, remembering the 100 gold Hoyoung promised him. He then decides he'll just destroy everything while he's here. His first punch hits the gate and the structure's durability begins to drop. With a series of blows, he continues to damage the gate more and more. A final punch finally shatters it completely. A system notification announces that the castle gate has been opened. He brags that the gate couldn't handle his power, but the system starts a restoration countdown. The gate rebuilds itself right in front of him, leaving him stunned. He then looks up at the top of the wall and spots 2 guards watching the movement. He continues to scan the area and sees the altar with about 10 people gathered around it. He remembers Hoyoung's warning not to defeat anyone, as it would reveal the function of the return crystal. But Seong believes they are just weak opponents, afraid of a single person. He decides he will simply defeat them all. Suddenly, Kim Seong is thrown backward as he's hit in the head by a shot. He reacts stunned by the surprise attack. Then he drops to his knees, clutching his head. Still confused, he looks ahead with blurred vision while trying to catch his breath. His vision focuses on the altar as he tries to identify the threat. A woman is pointing a gun in his direction. Lee Hoyoung reacts upon seeing that the enemy player has a gun. Back with the group, Kim Seong confirms it, explaining that the gun fires magic projectiles that hurt him badly. Hoyoung finds this strange since not even An Sechang, a soldier, has such a weapon. He then remembers the benefits granted to a Scourge of the Stars and understands the situation. It becomes clear to him that the enemy they face is a Scourge of the Stars. He clenches his fist, anticipating a tough fight ahead. Che Yeziel touches his arm to get his attention. She then tells him not to worry. With a smile, she assures him she'll have his back. Seo Juno and the other players also get ready for the fight, while Kim Seong yells that the sniper will be defeated. With a smile, Lee Hoyoung says that's great and prepares to announce their plan. Drops of sweat drip to the floor as a man trembles, leaning on the ground. In the background, a woman yawns before a crowd of players waiting in silence. Lee Hoyoung activates his flawless senses, a powerful benefit he gained in his last mission. He gets a clear view of the top of the castle wall. He spots just 2 guards on the wall, exactly as Kim Seong had mentioned. Seong returns to the battlefield and shouts to the guards that they've met again. He wonders if the enemies will figure out about the crystals, but Hoyoung explains they'll likely think it's a unique skill of his. Atop the wall, the two guards ready their bows. Yahello notices a fast movement coming toward her. Then the archers fire their arrows simultaneously. Kim Seong reacts in surprise as the attack is completely different from what happened before. The enemy arrows are intercepted in midair by other arrows. Lee Hoyoung declares this is their chance and leaps. He uses Seong's shoulder as a springboard, launching himself into the air. While Hoyoung ascends, one of the arrows hits Kim Seong. The guards look up and are surprised to see him flying toward them. With a single motion, he takes down both enemies with his sword. He declares that was their only shot. Seo Jeno understands that the enemies will find out about the crystal, so they need to defeat them quickly. The players advance toward the gate, seizing the opportunity to attack. Kim Seong shouts he can destroy the gate in 5 punches and tells everyone to follow him closely. He prepares for the attack, but as he uses his stone fist, he's thrown back by an unexpected impact. The gate is destroyed in a single blow and can no longer be restored, while Yahello heals the fallen Kim Seong. From atop the wall, Lee Hoyoung watches the scene in surprise. The fallen guard tells him he doesn't know why they were allowed to live, but that this mindset will cost them. Through the shattered gate, the gunslinger and her group are visible on the other side. He warns him that woman will take advantage of the situation. The woman aims her gun with a determined look. Lee Hoyoung confirms his suspicions upon seeing the status window, which reveals she is a star assassin. He's amazed to see she's level 13 and wonders if she defeated everyone on the second floor. An image shows the star assassin standing over a defeated player. The star assassin fires her gun directly at him. The shot hits him in the chest, leaving him surprised. The impact throws him to the ground and he sits up to catch his breath. He drinks a potion, impressed by the gunslinger's hostility and lack of hesitation. But he's relieved to have prepared his Kalia's leather armor in advance. Peeking over the wall, he notices that each magic bullet consumes 10 mana. He deduces that if she has the same shop level as him, she can't buy mana recovery items yet. The gunslinger watches the battlefield, weapon in hand. Hoyoung calculates she only has 13 shots left and prepares to advance. He decides they need to push forward, and his group rushes into battle. The two groups clash in a direct confrontation. The players charge forward, running and shouting amidst the chaos. The star assassin fires another one of her bullets. The shot hits one of the players in the chest. One of the players suggests they find cover and advance in a zigzag pattern to dodge the shots. Lee Hoyoung explains that the gunslinger can't endlessly use the bullets that injured Seong as they consume mana. Remembering the plan, he had asked one of them to take just a single shot. One of the players is hit, but protective plate on his chest absorbs the impact. Even injured, he prepares to advance with a determined smile. The star assassin fires several times, and the player runs toward her, taking the hits. Yahello gets ready to heal him, revealing the group's strategy. The gunslinger watches them in silence for a moment. Then, she shoves one of her own teammates, forcing him to fight. She yells for her team to advance, and everyone rushes into the confrontation. Lee Hoyoung understands that what happens next will decide the outcome, and they need to reach the altar quickly. One of the enemy players charges and tries to hit him with a sword, but Hoyoung defends against the blow with his own weapon. He then blocks an attack from a second approaching enemy, and manages to strike the first opponent with the hilt of his sword. In the middle of the fight, a magic bullet approaches him. Seo Jeno shoves him aside and blocks the bullet with his sword. The impact sends his sword flying. The star assassin is surprised they reacted to her shots. Even injured, Juno yells for Hoyoung to advance quickly. Lee Hoyoung glares at him with a furious expression. Yahello struggles to maintain a protective barrier. As more players are defeated and return, he laments the continuous losses. He understands the gunslinger knows they return even after defeat, but he can't understand how she can defeat people with that expression. The star assassin faces him with a faint smile. A blue-haired man comments that their group is quite interesting. Lee Hoyoung grips the hilt of his sword tightly. He then charges forward and begins to fight using his level 3 swordsmanship. His blade hits the ground as he prepares for his next move. Suddenly, a man with a gun appears to confront the gunslinger. He fires a shot that collides with hers, causing a massive explosion in the courtyard. Kim Seong warns the two players that they're in a tough spot now. He explains that now that their companion has reached the altar, they no longer need to hold back. With a smile, he shouts that they don't have to hold back anymore. Then he uses his power and strikes the ground, sending the enemies flying. As the players are knocked away, the gunslinger and Hoyoung face off on the altar. The gunslinger questions how he can be so strong at only level 2. With a smile, he retorts that what's strange is her already being at level 13. She stares at him in silence for a moment. Then, Hoyoung's footsteps on the altar, activating it. An energy expands from his feet. A notification informs him that he has occupied the altar and needs to remove the opposing player. He understands that it takes 3 people to fully occupy the altar. But before that, the gunslinger readies her weapon. Lee Hoyoung points the gun he picked up. He rushes towards her, determined to stop her. The gunslinger fires her weapon in a quick shot. She's surprised to see him deflect the shots with his sword and gun. He then prepares to counterattack. The woman leaps back, dodging his advance on the altar. Then she fires several times while still in the air. The gunslinger refuses to believe it. She wonders if he predicted her movements, since he dodges every shot. A faint smile appears on his face. An image shows that Seo Juno, one of the strongest players, was a table tennis genius. In a match between professionals, it's not easy to return every ball using sight alone. That's why players read their opponent's posture and gaze to predict where the ball will go. And the nickname Juno had as a professional player was the Prediction Genius, and that's how Hoyang learned to predict the gunslinger's shots. He charges forward at high speed, leaving a trail behind him. The gunslinger stares at him, surprised by his movement. Li Hoyang lunges and attacks, but the gunslinger blocks the strike with her arm. The impact of the blade shatters part of the stone altar behind her. She holds her ground, weapon in hand. With a mark on her face, she glares at him with disdain. Then, the woman realizes his stats are higher than hers. Kim Seong and the others announce they've finished their fight and tell Hoyang to end it quickly. The gunslinger asks if the crystal's function is resurrection, and he confirms it is. He believes that even if she has a hidden skill, he can withstand one hit. Li Hoyang decides he needs to take a risk and accept some damage to end the fight now. She then asks him if he really thinks he's already won. The gunslinger uses her gold to level up her shooting skill. Hoyang reacts, annoyed by the unexpected turn of events. Her eye glows as she prepares to shoot, and she fires 2 quick shots in succession. The shots shatter Hoyang's gun and hit him dead on. Li Hoyang falls backward as his companions run towards him. His body then dissolves into particles. A system notification announces the end of the 3rd floor mission. Kim Seong turns and questions the look on his face, but Hoyang simply replies that they won. Kim Seong complains about his small reward, even though he helped the team. He didn't expect the consecutive shots at the end of the fight. The gunslinger was also hit, but he managed to hit her with his sword at the same time. As her body dissolved, she promised to remember Li Hoyang's name. After that, the 3 of them occupied the altar and won, but he hopes he won't meet her again. Someone then shouts for them to look to the other side of the room. The group they previously faced emerges from a portal. A notification announces that the defeated group will now face the disaster, and the disaster attacks the players who failed to get a single kill. One of the defeated players desperately screams for help from behind an energy barrier. Che Yazil says they need to help them, but one of the men tries to cross the barrier. His hand is forcefully repelled and he screams from the shock. Then the disaster creature charges at the defenseless players. Li Hoyang's group watches the scene, powerless to do anything. After the creature's attack, only one survivor moves with difficulty across the floor. Hoyang watches the scene with a grim expression. A system notification announces that only one player survived in the other area and that the groups have been reorganized. He then realizes that the only person who got a kill on the enemy team is starting to materialize in the middle of his team. Everyone turns to watch the arrival of the new member. The gunslinger joins their group and a message announces the creation of a new team. She wipes the dirt from her face and says how unpleasant the situation is. Li Hoyang reacts with irritation, understanding the reason for his earlier unease. The 13 players find themselves gathered in a ruined, abandoned city. A woman wonders if the 4th floor is an abandoned city. Then, a system message announces a disaster will occur in 6 hours. It instructs them to defeat all the monsters to secure an escape portal. The notification also states that the portal will appear randomly as they hunt, and that only 20 portals will spawn in total. But each portal can only be used by one person, as a 6-hour timer begins. One of the men celebrates the hunting mission, pointing out that with 20 portals for 13 people, there will be no competition. Kim Seong flexes his muscles and yells that he's going to defeat all the monsters to level up. Che Yizil raises the point that portals can't be shared. Seo Juno adds that if someone opens several, others won't be able to escape. Ju Hongkyo then suggests the extra portals might be a trap from the tower. Li Hoyang tells An Si Chang it makes sense to enter a portal as soon as it opens. Seo Juno proposes that everyone promise to stop hunting and escape the moment they get a portal, and the others agree. Che Yezil asks Kim Seong about his expression. He replies it's just his normal face as Li Hoyang watches them. Li Hoyang then turns to the side, but Sun Soyan crosses her arms and asks why she should do that. She warns him not to think about giving her orders before turning and walking away. Li Hoyang and the others brace for a possible confrontation. 12 hours earlier, Kim Seong was yelling that this was no place for her to show off. Then his face is hit head-on. Sun Soyan lands a direct hit on him. He's thrown backward and crashes to the ground. The other players watch the scene, completely shocked. She stands over him and scolds him, asking if he thinks he has multiple lives. But Li Hoyang arrives with his group and says she has already caused too much trouble in their territory. An unidentified man watches Li Hoyang, who looks tense about the situation. Li Hoyang addresses her, saying they meet again. She asks what he has to say. Suddenly, a crosshair locks onto his face. He jumps back and questions what that was. A system message announces that the Star Assassin has designated him as the main target. Li Hoyang wonders what the hell a main target is as the system confirms his designation. The system then begins to provide a guide. Li Huiyang reacts to the new information. Back in the present, he watches Sun Soyan walk away. She glares back at him. Elsewhere, an orc apologizes for having to hit such a pretty face, but Kim Seong strikes it and yells for it to become his experience points. The creature dissolves and a portal opens, much to Kim Seong's surprise. He glances around nervously, then he peeks from behind a wall, and is startled to see Li Huiyang standing there. Li Huiyang asks what he's doing and why he looks so shocked. Kim Seong replies that he just thought he would have already opened a portal. Then Li Huiyang asks him if he opened a portal. Kim Seong's expression changes as he realizes he's been caught. Li Huiyang shoves him directly into the portal and tells him to stop messing around. He states that he already knew the other guy would try something. Then he declares he's taken care of one problem as the system once again offers a guide. The new information leaves him shocked. The guide reveals that the Star Assassin's traits will be unlocked on the day of confrontation, and if she defeats him, she will receive a great reward. He concludes that while he doesn't know when the day of confrontation will be, many people will fall. A level 10 orc charges to attack Li Huiyang, who is at level 2, but he defeats the monster with a single swing of his sword. After receiving the experience points, he decides he needs to get as strong as possible. He observes the defeated orc and notices that a portal didn't open for him. Li Huiyang realizes he can't defeat all the monsters, since not everyone has escaped yet. As he walks through the city, he reminds himself to be careful of Sun Soyan. Suddenly, a strong smell hits him. He covers his nose and questions the source of the unpleasant odor. The guide informs him that the orcs that leave portals behind have a much stronger scent. With his eyes fixed on the monster in the distance, he declares he's found the right target. The strong-smelling orc stands still, not understanding the situation. Then Li Huiyang runs at high speed toward the monster. He leaps and defeats it with a precise strike of his sword. The moment he lands, a system message announces a portal has appeared. Li Huiyang smiles, confirming that the portal has finally opened. The sound of battle echoes through the ruined city. Sun Soyan turns toward the noise. Li Huiyang covers his face, cursing his bad luck for not finding a portal yet. She asks if he's always this unlucky, and he just replies that he already warned her. He complains that he's never won anything and that random luck missions are the worst for him. But he smiles, as he's intentionally avoiding the orcs that could open a portal. Since Sun Soyan needs to defeat him on the day of confrontation, she's forced to let him hunt the monsters. If he were defeated there without securing an escape, it would be bad for her plans too. He then reveals that he's actually already secured a portal for himself. A system notification announces that only 5 escape portals remain. He feigns despair over the few remaining portals, complaining about luck-based games. Sun Soyan tells him to shut up and focus on hunting, and the two press forward together. Elsewhere, Kim Seong comes face to face with an orc in the middle of an attack. Li Huiyang defeats another orc, reflecting on the conflicting feelings of battle. He realizes this feeling is like his relationship with Sun Soyan, who only cares about him so she can defeat him. Li Huiyang asks why she seems anxious, since he's the one who hasn't found a portal yet, but she denies being worried. He then asks her directly how many portals she has opened. She replies that she secured 5. Li Huiyang processes this information in silence. The count is 5 portals for her and 1 for him. A quick calculation shows that if each of the other 11 players has a portal, only 3 will be left. A system notification confirms that only 3 escape portals now remain. He concludes they might be the only ones left on the 4th floor and that it's time to part ways with her. The timer shows only 10 minutes left and he points out how little time they have. He says he'll look for a portal on his own and suggests she go on ahead, but she tells him to wait, making him stop in his tracks. Her command makes him halt and he waits for what she has to say. They both stand in silence before the defeated orc. He asks if she still has business with him, pointing out the short time remaining. She hesitates for a moment before speaking. Li Huiyang senses that something is wrong and decides he needs to get out of there fast. But as he turns to leave, his movement is stopped. Sun Soyan grabs his shirt from behind, stopping his escape. She admits that she's forgotten the locations of the 5 portals she opened. He looks back, not believing what he just heard. Li Huiyang realizes the Star Hunter has no sense of direction. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him from inside a large hall. Someone walks toward them. He turns to see who is approaching. Kim Seong runs toward him with open arms, saying he knew he'd be back. But he's met with a direct punch. The blow sends him flying to the other side of the hall. Li Huiyang pulls back his fist and says he was startled, thinking his mission wasn't over yet. He comments that the other guy looks like an orc, and Sun Soyan says there's no need to say that out loud. Che Yaiziel approaches, expressing her relief that Sun Soyan also made it back safely. Seo Juno extends a hand, saying that even though she was an enemy, she's a teammate now. She just watches him in silence with her arms crossed. Then she turns and walks away, calling him noisy. Kim Seong gets angry and complains that she should have been defeated, but Sun Soyan tells him to shut up, and he retorts that it's all muscle. He flexes his muscles to prove his point, while Li Huiyang wonders if he should have left her behind. He decides to see this as a chance to make her owe him one, but he knows he still needs to be careful around her. even if she won't do anything until the day of confrontation. Meanwhile, the other players comment that everyone seems to have gotten used to the situation. Suddenly, something catches Lee Hoyoung's attention. A white rabbit in a suit appears in the middle of the hall and introduces itself. The rabbit's head is then enveloped by an unknown energy. Sun Soyeon immediately points her weapon at it and asks why the rabbit is here again. She fires without hesitation, surprising Lee Hoyoung with her hostile reception. A monstrous creature emerges from within the rabbit and lunges at her. The monster attacks her but is hit head-on by the shot. She stumbles back from the force of the impact. Lee Hoyoung watches the scene intently. Lying on the ground, Sun Soyeon refers to the creature as the monster rabbit. Lee Hoyoung wonders how she was thrown back so easily. But he reconsiders that perhaps the rabbit was holding back, questioning if the Star Hunter is the weakest in the tower. The rabbit tells everyone to calm down as it's still too early for it to leave. The other players continue to watch the scene in silence. Then, the rabbit announces to everyone that it's time to go on the next mission. The rabbit then proposes that before they go to the next floor, they should change the lobby's background. Lee Hoyoung reacts to the unexpected suggestion. The hall transforms into a giant library. From that moment on, the rabbit instructs everyone to choose one book each. He warns that the book could be useful for survival or useless, leading them to an unfavorable fate, and that the decision is theirs. Kim Seong refuses to let a book decide his fate, while Seo Junho wonders if he can find a swordsmanship manual. The rabbit adds that the book's contents cannot be revealed and that they will all disappear at the start of the next mission. He hopes everyone selects a book they won't regret. Then the rabbit vanishes before everyone's eyes. A man questions if that's all, and another shouts for everyone to start looking for the book they need. The players spread out through the martial arts and sword technique sections. Lee Hoyoung observes that everyone is searching in categories related to their classes as expected, but he hesitates before starting his search. The guide instructs him to choose the book Monopoly of Connections of the SSS rank Regressor in the romance section. A notification confirms his choice, informing him that he cannot exchange the book nor reveal its contents to anyone else. Lee Hoyoung looks at the cover and concludes the title already seems quite useless, but he decides to read it, certain it was recommended for a reason. After flipping through a few pages, he realizes it's a cliché fantasy. He looks away with a disappointed expression. Seo Junho learns a new swordsmanship technique called Thawing Swordsmanship. Kim Seong acquires the Fist King's Punch skill. Che Yazil obtains the knowledge of the Eastern Doctor, and Lee Hoyoung feels like he missed out. Suddenly, he hears a hammering sound. An Sechang is setting up a tent in the middle of the library. Lee Hoyoung watches him and wonders what kind of book he read. He continues to hear the repetitive sound of hammering. Sun Soyeon is striking a wooden dummy of the rabbit, promising to defeat it next time. He watches her from a distance in silence. Lee Hoyoung decides it's best to avoid her as the system announces that time is up. The scenery changes and they find themselves in a modern classroom with several desks. He wonders who those people are, noticing that time seems to have stopped around them. One female player comments to another that they seem to have gotten younger and the other agrees. Lee Hoyoung wonders if they've returned to their student days to fit the mission's setting. He observes Kim Seong and notes that he just looks like a version of himself with a shaved head. Someone comments that Hoyoung doesn't look that different. Then he observes Che Yizil in her younger version. Seo Junho compliments her appearance and she returns the compliment. Lee Hoyoung approaches a girl with glasses and asks if she's Sun Soyeon. She glares at him and asks what he's looking at, clenching her fist. He concludes she hasn't changed much either as she turns to adjust her glasses. A static sound comes from a speaker on the classroom wall. Lee Hoyoung looks up toward the noise. The rabbit's voice echoes through the room, asking if they are enjoying the youth that was returned to them. The rabbit announces that the 5th floor mission is role-playing, and they are all now cadets in a hunter academy. He explains that for the next 4 days they will receive missions, and if they fail, they will face a high-risk mission. The players react with surprise, realizing that failing a single mission will lead to a severe outcome. Lee Hoyoung reflects that while he has survived, a high-risk mission would be too difficult for an ordinary player. He regrets choosing a novel instead of a sword technique manual. The rabbit then prepares to speak again. He announces that he will give everyone the necessary memories for the role-playing. Beams of energy strike each of the players' heads. Lee Hoyoung is also hit, forcibly receiving the new memories. He clutches his head, feeling the discomfort of the information being implanted. The system message confirms the memories have been installed, leaving him breathless. He finds the sensation of having 2 different sets of memories in his mind fascinating. The new memories he possesses are the contents of the book Monopoly of Connections of the SSS rank Regressor. The rabbit warns that the mission will begin after class ends as a teacher lectures at the front of the room. A classmate whispers to Lee Hoyoung that the students frozen in time are now moving, and he concludes the players are just extras. Then he observes the young man in front of him, identifying him as the novel's protagonist. His name is Oh Yunim, and he's also a regressor who knows the future. Thanks to this information, Yunim was able to monopolize connections with powerful people and became the strongest. The teacher asks the class if anyone wants to try answering in exchange for shop points. Lee Hoyoung recognizes the question is at a level normal students couldn't answer and that originally, Yunim would have answered it. But he raises his hand and answers that the material is known as Exion. He adds that Professor Brown's team at Columbia University is researching the subject. The professor is impressed and calls him a genius. Then Lee Hoyoung receives the points and finally understands why the guide recommended that novel to him. He concludes that he doesn't need any sword technique or martial arts manuals. Yunim turns to face him. Lee Hoyoung then smiles, determined to take all those connections for himself first. The academy bells ring, signaling the end of class and the start of the mission. Kim Seong asks Lee Hoyoung how he knew about the action, and he lies, saying it was in the memories he received. The man complains that maybe only he got a good character, and Hoyoung suggests he take it up with the tower. Chae Yiseol approaches and asks when he thinks the mission will start. Lee Hoyoung looks ahead and states that it must be right now. Then, a system notification appears for everyone, announcing the start of a mission. The task is to clear the dungeon next to building B37 in 60 minutes, with failure resulting in a high-risk mission. He clenches his fist, determined not to let Yunim take the dungeon boss's item. One of the players shouts for everyone to hurry, and the group runs toward the location. Yunim enters the orc's lair and is surprised to see the entrance. He turns around upon hearing Lee Hoyoung and his group entering right behind him and questions how they got there. Everyone is transported to the bottom of the dungeon, landing among several orcs. Lee Hoyoung charges forward and attacks one of the monsters with his sword. The orc is hit squarely by the blow. Lee Hoyoung then turns to Yunim and asks if he thought he was the only one who could find this place. Yunim questions what is happening. He finds it strange and doesn't understand how they found the place, but he wonders if the cadets in his class were really that strong, especially Sun Soyeon, who fires at the monsters with her gun, and Lee Hoyoung, who skillfully advances with his sword. He focuses on the two of them. Yunim is sure he wouldn't forget such strong people. Realizing they might take what's his, he reads an item. Then, he summons a large spear. He prepares to attack all the monsters at once. An attack strikes the battlefield. Lee Hoyoung and Sun Soyeon turn toward the attack. The blow defeats all the orcs and monsters in the dungeon. With that, the spear returns, and he finally holds the item in his hands. Yunim takes a stance with his spear in hand. Kim Seong questions what that is, and Chae Yiseol comments on the weapon's overwhelming power. Lee Hoyoung observes the scene and concludes that he won't give up the dungeon reward easily, so he decides it's time to see who will win this contest. With time running out, they realize they'll be able to clear the mission without any problems. But to get the dungeon reward, they need to defeat more orcs than the others to challenge the boss. He admits that Yunim is stronger at the moment. However, he uses his skill to locate the remaining monsters. Lee Hoyoung declares himself an expert at finding monsters and moves ahead of the group. Sun Soyeon remembers that she has lost to his tricks before, but she throws an object on the ground, determined not to lose this time. He leaps to attack an orc that was hiding. The monsters react to the surprise attack, and he lands in the middle of the group of enemies. Then he prepares to face the largest orc in the group. Lee Hoyoung readies an attack with his sword. His weapon manifests with overwhelming power. An orc charges to attack him with a machete, but Sun Soyeon moves first to intercept. She fires and hits one of the orcs with precision. Then she continues to fire at the other monsters around her. She conjures a large projectile above her head and unleashes a powerful attack on the enemies. Her weapon prepares for the next shot. Yunim stands still amidst the defeated orcs. He watches the battle unfold. Chae Yiseol comments to Seo Juno that the three of them are incredible. Then she asks if he doesn't feel like Hoyoung is a bit more desperate than usual. Lee Hoyoung fights furiously, yelling about his dungeon reward. The other players are moved, believing he is trying so hard so they can survive. Seo Juno covers his face, saying he's completely moved by Hoyoung's heart. He then raises his sword in the air and shouts for everyone to try even harder for Hoyoung, their light. The players cheer for him, leaving Lee Hoyoung completely confused by the reaction. He stops for a moment to catch his breath, the tip of his sword resting on the ground. A system message announces that the orcs have been defeated and the boss room has appeared. Then, another notification begins to announce who has earned the right to challenge the boss, and the name revealed is Yunim, to Lee Hoyoung's surprise. One of the players laments that even with his effort, it wasn't enough. Lee Hoyoung wonders if he'll have to just give up. Yunim approaches the door to enter the boss room, but Lee Hoyoung calls out to him, making him stop with his hand on the door. He asks Yunim to give him the right to challenge the boss monster, leaving the other man confused. Then he asks if the regressor doesn't want to know something, the way to end his endless chain of regressions. He smiles, determined not to give up so easily.